Hey everybody, welcome to One More Round with Josh Norris. I'm excited to have Jack O'Hara with me today. Hey, if you like what you see, make sure you like, subscribe, put a comment in. So just a quick background, Jack is the host of the O Show with Jack O'Hara, play-by-play broadcaster for ESPN, writer, actor, amateur stand-up comedian. Welcome, Jack.
Amateur. Emphasis on amateur.
Hey, you wrote your own bio. You wrote your own bio.
Yeah, I guess so.
It's cool. So where have you done some of your comedian and stand-up stuff?
So Zach and I, who's actually behind the camera today doing work for you on this phenomenal podcast, we go to the Gold Margarita on Tuesday nights, open mic night. For anybody that's interested, it's Eric Bernal's industry stand-up night that he does every Tuesday. Just booked a gig at Tempe Improv on April 14th, too. I actually need like 10 people to show up, so I think I got about 1 so far. So I need 9 more people to show up for anybody that wants to come see me perform. Kind of need it, or else they don't let me.
Nice. What time?
Go up there. 7 p.m. Okay. April 14th is the date. Tempe Improv, 7 p.m. Be there, or else I can't do my job, you know? That'd be a bummer.
Count me in. I'll be a ringer for you.
I need 8 more people to show up on April 14th at 7 p.m. or else I can't do it. So thank you.
That's how we do things.
Thank you.
So you had me on your show last week. That was super fun.
It was a blast. The first time I have ever done an IV in the middle of an interview.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what did you? How was your IV experience?
It was great. I was able to taste the vitamins as I was talking.
Isn't that strange?
Which is something I've never experienced before at any point in my life. I think I told you the only other time I had an IV in me was when I had like severe heart palpitations when I was like 11 and I had to go to the hospital.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah. And then you like blew up your entire vein doing it, which is hilarious.
Yeah, that story was terrible. I literally almost passed out, ears ringing the first time I had one, and how I ever got in the business after that, you know, Lord knows. But it's good. So yeah, it was fun, and I love your setup. I was weird being on the opposite side of that setup.
Yeah.
And when you announced episode 499, I had no idea how many you had done.
Yeah.
But that's huge. And then 500 was Magic Johnson.
Yeah, he had to follow this guy up. Not an easy task.
Yeah. So what was it like interviewing Magic Johnson?
Magic Johnson, out of all the people I've talked to, like maybe Zach, like you could attest, probably the biggest celebrity I've probably had on. Like I've had a lot of cool interactions with a lot of cool people, some like public figure-esque people, but like he was probably like the first legit celebrity type person I had on. Probably one of the nicer human beings I've met for everything that he's accomplished.
Yeah.
5-time NBA champ, executive, owner, VP of operations for both the Lakers back in the day and now with the Los Angeles Dodgers. Like just down to earth guy, you know, not eccentric, like just hardworking individual. And it's paid off for him. So I think getting the chance to talk to him and him treating me on the same level as him, just with the amount of respect that I heard in the tone of his voice was awesome. Like it was a great conversation. Just asked him a bunch of curious questions that I had that like I wasn't going to fire or hold back on, you know, like he was all for it, which is great because even the publicist was just like, Magic, we got to wrap this up. Like, you could tell he was actually interested in talking to someone.
That's awesome. Yeah, you're a good interviewer. I've watched a bunch of your episodes. I always like the one you and Zach do, which is fun. Where you
it's
guys
weird. That one doesn't get great ratings.
No, it should. I mean, you guys are talking about betting. We'll blame Zach on that.
Yeah.
No,
that's what I was going towards. It's Zach's fault.
But yeah, it's fun because then you guys talk about the bets for the week, who you liking right now in the NCAA tournament. With everybody out, all the one seeds.
I know, right? I had Kentucky and Baylor in my Final Four. I got a lot of friends who go to St. Peter's out in Jersey. I'm originally from New Jersey, so Peacock Nation. It is what it is. They're going to lose. Did they lose last night? Are they out? Did they play in the Sweet 16?
Can't remember.
Nobody cares. It's St. Peter's. I'm going with Duke, too, just because it's Coach K's last hurrah. It's a swan song. Like, it'd be cool. You rarely see something like that happen. Like Derek Jeter's final game, like Derek Jeter-esque base hit the other way into right field for a walk-off. Like he went out like as a movie star, basically. Yep. You never see that. Tom Brady's going to try to do it this year with a return to the Bucs after retiring for like 3 weeks. Mm-hmm. But other than that, you know, there's Ray Lewis, I guess, retired as a Super Bowl champion. Just off the top of my head, like Coach K, for the amount of success that he's had in his career, it'd be cool to see him go out on a high note.
I would like that too. I mean, I was rooting for U of A, and then last night they got absolutely demolished.
Yeah.
Which was really sad to see. So my only hope is out. So now, yeah, I'm a Coach K fan. So Duke, I like that pick. It's a good pick.
Yeah, it's a great pick.
Yeah, but speaking of Tom Brady, let's just go over that. The man retired, and 3 weeks later he comes and unretires. I mean, what do you think of this?
It was probably the first time I actually received a notification on my phone from like ESPN or any news outlet where I was like, yeah, like I didn't really have like any reaction to it because I'm like there was like a 99% chance that this was going to happen anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Like the guy is so just competitively driven that I feel like he just sat down and realized, like, I don't have to train right now. Like, camp's going to start back up in a few months. I'm not doing anything. And he still had that tick in his head, that little voice in his head saying, like, go, go, go. I'm not stunned. And the way he went out, too, like, being down 28-3 again to the Los Angeles Rams, able to make a big comeback in that game in the divisional round, and then go out a hard luck loser, unfortunately. Like, that probably didn't, that probably left a sour taste in his mouth. Like, he's coming back, and I totally see him, like, in that Derek Jeter, Ray Lewis-esque of coming back, winning a Super Bowl, and then hanging it up.
Well, I'm sure you saw the stat where it was like, lose 1 year, win a Super Bowl. Lose 1 year, win a Super Bowl. And it's been like that for almost like the last decade and a half. He just lost won 1 year previous. I mean, trends are what they are. So I think there's good money to bet on Tampa Bay Buccaneers before the season starts.
I know, and you wouldn't have said that 3 weeks ago because as soon as they lost Tom Brady, they were back on the island of irrelevancy, as I like to say. Like they were not going to compete at all.
Absolutely. So you do broadcasts for ESPN?
I do.
Awesome.
I've done a few broadcasts for ESPN. So I was able to do play-by-play commentary in college, the three of us working together at Grand Canyon University.
Cool.
Did baseball, softball, volleyball, soccer, basketball, you name it. Tried to get into everything, really. And our boss, Al Porteous, who actually hooked me up, so thank you, Al, he was a producer for the athletics program at GCU, but prior to that was a producer for Fox Sports Arizona for nearly 20 years, working with the Diamondbacks and the Coyotes. And the opportunity came knocking. They needed some freelance work over at GCU, some work at ASU coming up too. He gave me a call, and that was that. So over the past 2 months or so, I've been doing games for both ESPN3 and ESPN Plus. And it's been awesome getting to work with so many different individuals. Like, there's a lot of people in your ear. Like, there's the producer that you work with, whether it be at the college or at the school. Then you also got a producer back in Stamford, Connecticut that's also in your ear, which is definitely something different that I didn't get to experience in college. But all in all, great experiences, especially because I'm still a young kid trying to figure this out. Just, throwing myself up against the wall and hoping I stick somewhere.
Yeah.
It's a blast.
So what is that like? Like having headphones on, people talking to you, trying to keep your thoughts. Is it hard to do that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's such a way more difficult job than most people think it is. Like, you have all those Twitter trolls, like, basically berating a Joe Buck or an Al Michaels or whatever just for, like, something that they disagree with. Like, you have no idea how difficult that this job is. You have so many people, like I said, multiple producers in your ear. You got camera people next to you. You got the PR team that you sit next to in the booth telling you that you suck because you mispronounced a name or two. It's difficult.
Yeah.
And some of these PR people are not very nice people, and you just got to deal with all of it and keep your composure and just focus on the game because there's an X amount of people listening to only you when you're listening to 10 other people in your ear. So you got to stay composed. You can't let it get to you and just focus on what you did on top of all the prep work that you did before. Because if you don't do that prep work, you got all these people screaming in your ear and you have no idea what the hell you're going to say.
Wow. Yeah, it seems like it'd be very difficult. Like I've never thought about it, but like when Al Michaels is up there and they're doing Sunday Night Football and he's probably got 7 different people. Collinsworth is like right there yapping in his ear, like how he stays composed and continues to, just do a great job commentating, on the game and everything. I think Joe Buck gets a hard time. I really do. I like Joe Buck. What are your thoughts on him?
I think he's the greatest broadcaster of this generation. Maybe of any generation, really. I mean, you look back at like the Vince Scullys of the world, the Dick Vitales, I think Joe Buck has been arguably the most consistent and successful broadcaster that there is, considering he does every big game and every big series. World Series every year, Super Bowl every year, all the PGA tours. Like, he does all the big events.
Yeah.
And they bring him in for a reason. He's the most professional. He's obviously one of the more easy guys to work with. If you've ever read his book Lucky Bastard that he came out with, it gives a great insight as to how Jack Buck, his father, being around his dad, who was arguably one of the greats in his own time, kind of showed him the ropes early on, and he was able to absorb all that information and kind of pick people's brains at an early age to get into it. A lot of people say he's only there because of Jack Buck. Maybe so. Maybe he got the opportunity. He wouldn't have stayed there very long if he shat the bed. Like, he wouldn't have been there if he wasn't A-plus caliber.
Right.
And that's what Joe Buck is at the end of the day. And everybody, like Troy Aikman, loves working with him. John Smoltz loves working with him. You know, like, I think Joe Buck will be around for years to come. To just inked a record deal for a broadcaster with ESPN. Him and Troy Aikman jumping ship from Fox Sports to ESPN.
That was breaking news.
And Joe Buck's been with Fox Sports forever.
He has.
20-plus years.
Yeah.
30-plus years even. And now he's going to go to ESPN for that big deal. So congrats to Joe Buck on that. But I think he's arguably the greatest broadcaster alive today.
So what does it take to be a broadcaster? I mean, what are the attributes that make a great one? And why did you get involved in it?
I got involved in it, I mean, when I was 5 years old, growing up, watching New York Yankee games, Michael Kay with the Yes Network, immediately was hooked. I'm like, that's what I want to do. Because I knew I wasn't ever going to be good enough to play. Loved playing baseball growing up, but it got to a point where I'm like, I love talking about it. I love the storytelling aspect to it. Like, I'd go to games growing up all the time. Like, I'd go to like 30, 40 Yankee games a year and immediately journal about them afterwards. Just write like articles about the game and about my experience. And I've done that since I was 5 years old. Still do it today, you know. And I think, I don't know how that came about. I don't know why that sparked my interest right away, but I'm glad it did, because I've been able to carry that passion since I was 5 years old. 18 years later now at 23, still going and pushing through, you know, 500 plus episodes with the podcast, done over 1,000 play-by-play broadcasts at this point with multiple different networks. You know, you get to meet people, learn their stories, which is interesting, and they all mold together too, which is kind of like the spice and the spark of life almost. Like, everybody has their own niches, everybody has their own stories, and when they come together in the right time, when timing matches up, I think it's a beautiful thing, because, you know, like, you're where you're supposed to be at all those given points, you know, through all the trials, the tribulations, the upsets, the darkness, you know, the dark times, the bright times, like the great accomplishments that you have. Like, it all comes together, and that's your story. It's almost like writing your own book, right? So I think that's where that passion comes for me, is getting to be able to tell an audience a story during a game, or a story on a player pre-game or during a game. And, you know, like, because there's games where it's like, oh, in baseball, it's 11-2 in the third inning, and you got to talk about stories, or else you're going to bore yourself and bore the audience, right? Yeah. But then there's games where it's like, you're down 3 runs in the bottom of the ninth, someone hits a walk-off grand slam. Like, how can you not be romantic about that? Like, that's awesome, you know, and that really sets my soul on fire. So I think ever since I grew up watching games, again, like on the Yes Network with Michael Kay, Paul O'Neill doing games, David Cohn, watching New York Yankee baseball, that's really what got me into it. And it's kind of evolved into a totally different thing, you know, having like sales experiences or getting to start this podcast, you know. I think it all goes back to storytelling for me. I really enjoy getting to know people. I really enjoy getting to tell stories and create things.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting, because I think that is one of the most important things for a broadcaster, storytelling. Yeah. So I read a book recently, my friend Lisa recommended, by Jim Gray.
Yeah.
And I forget the title, but literally all he does is tell stories, and he's been a broadcaster for 30 plus years.
Yeah.
Best friends with Tom Brady, and he tells all the stories about these great people that he's met, Muhammad Ali, and when he was interviewing him, and these such engaging stories. I mean, the book just like flew by.
Right. Oh yeah.
And so there's something to that. So you've had a podcast that's 500. Like, you're in big boy status now. Like, 500 episodes. Most people don't make it past 10.
Yeah.
We're on episode 7, so hopefully, no, 8, so hopefully. But
can't wait to be back for 800.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Well, but 500. What has it taken to do that?
Discipline, and that's really the only thing, because it took a long time to monetize. Like, literally like 3.5 years, you know. Like, I did it as a passion project to start. Started doing it. We have a bar in our basement in New Jersey at my parents' house. That was episode 1. And then did it in my college dorm room for so many years. I literally did it with my phone, like the voice memo app on my phone. Or maybe on my iPad, I would use my phone to make the calls for the guests. And then I used my iPad for the voice memo app to record the podcast. Didn't know how to edit, didn't know how to do anything. And just put out episodes raw. So like, if you go back to the first 50 episodes, they are raw. There's air ventilation in the background. There's long, awkward pauses. There's a lot of ums. Like, literally, I learned how to talk to people through this podcast. It's not just like, oh, well, yeah, it was like a job and it's worked out well. You know, I've grown as a person doing this, which is, I think, the coolest thing for at least me, looking back at it.
Were you more introverted before?
Oh, yeah. You couldn't get 2 words out of me growing up. Like, my parents always say all the time, like, I can't believe he's doing what he's doing, because literally it's just like, Jack, how was your day? Good. You want to talk about it? No. And immediately go to my room. Like, I wouldn't say anything to anybody. And now you can't shut me up sometimes. You know, I love it that much.
And that's the great skill of interviewing and just holding a conversation. I mean, it's almost invaluable because you can use it in your career in sales and marketing. You can use it, you know, obviously in your personal life with friends, family, you know, spouse. And it's like, it's almost like you got that skill in 500 episodes and it helped change your personality a little bit.
I mean, it's cool because it's not just like, it started out like as a hobby because it was like, okay, this is going to be great for my resume. I could start it up myself. Like, I don't have to apply to do this. But at the same time, it kind of morphed more from like a sports background to just about anything, you know, especially as I've aged throughout the years. Like, now I'm at a point in my life where, you know, I got to pay my bills, you know, you got utilities, you got rent, you got whatever you got to do. Like, okay, I'm going to start talking to a lot more successful entrepreneurs, see what experiences they had at a young age. Because it's not easy for anybody making money early on, right?
No.
We talked about that on our show. I mean, I've talked about it with a lot of business-like people. Like, it's tough, you know, like you gotta stay, you know, humble. You have to have grit in order to make it as an entrepreneur, because it never gets easier, you know? Like, the passion might be easier, but it's not going to get easier, because the more people you work with, the more obstacles there's going to be, the more hard times there's going to be, you know? Like,
that's it. Well, and making money is all about building momentum. And usually it's building momentum in a few areas. One, relationships in your life that, you know, you're making money with in a business sense. 2, looking for opportunities and then taking that opportunity and building upon it, jumping to another one. And then, you know, sometimes you getting lucky, but the more you work, the luckier you get. And I believe that. So, you know, yeah, when you're young, I remember when I was 23, which is a long time ago, it was 15 years ago. And I was network marketing. I was the field marketing director of a pretty large health club chain out here. And, you know, I felt like I was doing pretty good, but it was really hard to get that job and then to run my business on the side. But had I not worked as hard as I did, I wouldn't have had the later success at some of the other companies. So it's fun, you know, just enjoy the process.
It's like when hard work meets opportunity, that's luck, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Is that the equation? Hard luck plus opportunity meets, or hard work plus opportunity equals luck?
Yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, if you work hard, opportunities will start to gravitate towards you, and I'm a big believer in that. And once you like meet one good person, you start a relationship as far as friendship, you know, more hands you shake, the more money you make, like we were talking about Brad Lee on the podcast. And then but it's that momentum, because then that one relationship could turn into 20. And then you got a customer base, or you got a new opportunity with a new commentating gig, and it's fun to watch it unfold looking backwards. Sometimes it's hard to see
during, right?
Yep.
You know, like, you're, 8 episodes in, you said now? Like, it's not going to happen overnight. Some of these things, like, when I first, like, I wasn't even thinking money when I started it. I was 18, you know? And even in college when I was doing it, I was getting an opportunity to interview a lot bigger names, too. And it was just fun to see it grow, you know? Like, it wasn't just a resume thing now. Like, this is, like, the thing on my resume. Like, this is what I want to be known for. And it wasn't literally until I, you know, interviewed Dave Pratt, who, you know, was gracious enough to let us use his studio over the past year now at Star Worldwide Networks in Scottsdale by Fashion Square, where I actually learned how to sell sponsorships, you know, and actually find ways to monetize. Thanks to Evan Snyder with Mayweather Boxing and Fitness too. They're our big one. Like, right out of the gate, was able to meet him and hit it off with him. And we have a great working business relationship. But it's literally been in like the last year where I've really learned, like, oh, like, I can really make good money if I continue to do this at a high level. It's not going to happen overnight. It hasn't happened overnight. There are still very difficult days doing this. But I'm hoping in the long run I could look back and, like you said, like, right now it could be difficult, but I'm hoping a few years down the line I could look back and be like, I'm thankful I went through all of that, because it got me here.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, wherever there's an audience, there's opportunity.
Yeah.
And you've grown a good audience. Like, you have good downloads. You got good views on your videos that you do of the podcast. And it's funny you mentioned Dave. I've always liked Dave. I used to listen to him when I was, 5, 6 years old on KUPD back in the day, and the mayor. And I got a chance to meet him about 4 years ago now. He had done a talk at a little event that I was at. And I'm like, gosh, dang, man, Dave and Josh have been listening to you since I was, yay tall. And he was just the nicest dude. And he invited me to Star Worldwide. I actually was on that network for a little while. And he was just always gracious, and he could sell. And I noticed that. Like, he was really good with sponsorships. He had a lot of relationships he'd been working with for years, like Trigger. He's been working with Trigger for, I think 30 plus years. His book, I don't know if you read it, but Beyond the Mic, it's really good.
And he's got a ton of great little nuggets too. Like in his life, the things that he's been able to experience, not just like on the air, being a successful Hall of Fame radio broadcast host, beat cancer, great family man. I don't think there's anything more in life he cares about more than his kids, from what I've seen too. Getting to interact with two of his sons, both Sammy and Kyle, who are starting their own business too, with the Pratt brothers. His daughter Maddie, and then his oldest son Dave Jr. is a drummer in a band out in Los Angeles, which is actually really cool. So it's cool getting to see they obviously grew up with someone who forced them right into it, and they're gonna have big benefits later on in life because of it.
Yeah, he's one of those people where I look at and I'm like, I want my life to look back and be like him, as far as like the impact he had on his family and his community and all that. So it's pretty cool. So what's on the horizon for the O'Hara Show?
Oh, just so many more things. Hopefully Zach and I can continue shooting the shit and just me picking on him every single week, which I love to do. It's a great hobby. Things get stressful in life, Josh, so it's good to take out your anger on someone. It's like the chain of screaming, or like the pyramid of screaming, right? And I get to take out all that on Zach, but it's cool. You get paid to do it, so why not?
Absolutely.
Take advantage of it. Other than that, hopefully get some more broadcasts under my belt and just continue to keep growing, really. It's all about the repetitions and what I do. Got my insurance license too. Going to sell insurance to make a little bit more money because, again, at our age, it's great growing, and hopefully we can look back on this and be like, I'm glad we killed it because now we're doing what we love, but still in the early stages. You got to find ways to pay your bills doing other stuff too. So I'm mixing and matching. Just got a gig in solar too, which is fun. I'm very intrigued about all of the different possibilities on how to not only create relationships but also monetize things. So again, I'm just throwing myself up against the wall and hoping I stick somewhere.
Yeah, that's smart. And at this age, you can take more of an aggressive stance on things, because if you fail, it's all right. You just get back up and you do it. If you're later in life, 50s, 60s, 70s, it's harder to take those aggressive stances or to take those risks. But man, you're young, take as many risks as you possibly can. You'll have something that'll hit, and you'll be like,
right,
boom.
Can't be afraid to fail, man.
You can't.
Failure is inevitable. I feel like a lot of kids my age are just too afraid to fail. I fail every single day. I encourage it almost.
Yeah.
You got to do it with a smile too. It's only going to make you better at the end of the day.
Well, the more you fail, the more you learn. And it's not saying that you can't, read a book and try to learn from somebody else's experience. That's always a good way to do it. But quite honestly, most of what I've learned in my life has not been from what somebody told me. It's been, oh, that did not work out. That was a complete failure. I've had multiple businesses that just didn't work. And what I took from each one of them is, here's why this didn't work. Here's what I should have paid attention with this and marketing, all that stuff. So, fail forward.
I totally agree in the sense that you should read. I try to read 2 books a month. Probably want to do more as I get older too, because it keeps your brain sharp. And there's so many great little nuggets. Brad Lee's book is all about here are ways to succeed and go around the wrong things that I did, so you don't have to, basically.
Yep.
Which at the end of the day, he's a businessman. The more people that, take that advice and work with him, he's going to make more money along the way. But at the same time, you're helping thousands of people along the way. He just started his own insurance firm, Real Financial, where he wants people to be making tons of money. If you're financially free, you could do whatever you want. On top of that, you could help people out too.
Absolutely. Well, and that's the thing. The bigger your influence, the more money you make, the more money you can, or more people you can help too. It's not just about you. And that's what's great about being successful in any industry is what you can do for other people.
And that's what's going to keep you going too. Because if you're just working like a normal 9 to 5 and going home and just drinking and being like, oh, I'm exhausted, and you want to take a nap, like you're not growing.
No, you're not. You're really becoming your best self, at that point.
No,
you're not. So that's awesome. Yeah. How would somebody contact you about the insurance stuff?
The insurance stuff, People First, David Carpenter, you can go to peoplefirst.com. We're actually based out here in Tempe. And as soon as you go to the website, really, you could actually apply for a job, Like they're taking a lot of people. If you're passionate, you're motivated, you're young, you're hungry, you're looking to make a little extra money on the side financially too. Like if you're looking to help people, first and foremost though, peoplefirst.com is where you want to go. AIL, American Income Life Insurance. They've been great. A ton of great guys. Talant Bain, who's been a great mentor to mine so far, and then David Carpenter is the guy you want to reach out to at David Carpenter on all social media platforms.
Awesome. And are there any books you would recommend to somebody who's young in their career, trying to leapfrog and grow a little bit faster, that you've been impacted by?
There are, I would say all the John C. Maxwell books, honestly. That guy is intelligent.
He is.
He's been through a lot in his life, too, and he's come out the other side as one of the more successful businessmen of all time. Mm-hmm. David Meltzer, I think, is another great guy who went bankrupt twice, made millions, went bankrupt twice. He made the same mistake twice and overcame it again, and now he's going around the world with his podcasts and his books, showing people how to do things the right way. Jordan Belfort, The Way of the Wolf, say what you want about him. I got the chance to interview him a few years back. He is a very intelligent guy and knows how to monetize anything. He knows how to sell anything.
He does.
Which, if you know how to sell, if you have the ability to sell yourself or sell a product to anybody, even if they're not interested, you could do whatever the hell you want.
Absolutely. No, if you can have more confidence in something and you can influence people, that is a skill that will pay any lifestyle you want. I mean, selling is all just about transmitting confidence to somebody else and influencing them to see things your way and how it benefits them. And that's all sales is.
And I don't want to make it seem like, like life's all about money, because it's not. But, like the more money you have, like we said, the more opportunity you have to do things you want to do, the more opportunity you have to help other people out, which at the end of the day is going to make your life so much more fulfilling and passionate,
Yeah. Well, I mean, if there's organizations that are close to your heart, or if you go to church, hey, that takes money to run. And at the end of the day, there's nothing wrong with making a lot of money. I have friends, business owners, acquaintances that make a ton of money, and I will say they aren't giving it back. And they're able to make an impact on the things that are important to them. I think that's what it's all about.
1,000%. And like to go off of that, like there's the Bradleys of the world and the John C. Maxwells and the David Meltzers who make a lot of money. Read from them for sure. Like there's a lot of great intel and a lot of cool little nuggets from what they have to offer. But then on like the passion side, like I do play-by-play commentary. There's not a lot of money in it. Podcasting, unless you're one of the upper echelon Joe Rogan, Howard Stern, Pat McAfee's of the world, you're not making great money early on either. Mm-hmm. So you got to keep growing that and use other things to kind of finance the things you want to do. But like there's like Dave Grohl from the Foo Fighters. He wrote a book called The Storyteller, everything that he's gone through in his life. Passionate stuff, like things that really set your soul on fire and make you want to live. But at the same time, like, am I going to make money doing this? Not at first, know. And you gotta put your ego aside and take those gigs, like I said, to monetize and keep your finances in order so that you can continue to do the things you're passionate about. And once you're able to monetize those things and grow those things, you'll be like, okay, like I'm glad I went through all those experiences. Again, like if you want to be an athlete, or if you want to be a video editor, if you want to be a podcaster, and there's not opportunities coming your way, take a job doing something that you don't like just to make the money, and then continue to work. Like they say, like 9 to 5 is your job, but your 5 to 9 is your passion.
Yep.
In the early years, early 20s, even 30s, getting there, it's difficult. But when you come out the other side, I'm hoping one day we can look back and have, the 800th podcast here in this office and look back and be like, yep. Everything I said back in the day, 8 years ago, it paid off.
That's it. Well, and that's what it's all about. It's finding something you're passionate about. It's what my dad told me when I was young. He said, find something you love to do, learn to make money with it. But sometimes your passion doesn't always pay a lot. So yeah, you get a job to keep that going. I got a family to support it. But then you find something you're passionate about, and eventually it'll grow and it'll get to that point. but there's always that proving ground in life that usually takes a lot harder work than people anticipate. But when you come out the other side, just like Andy from Shawshank Redemption, he's glad he went through the river of crap.
That's right.
Came out, say Wataneo with Morgan Freeman, it was all good, right? So it's all about just pursuing your passion, understanding that it's not all about money, but money will come later.
Yeah, I think the old Vince McMahon quote was, "You have to learn to eat shit and enjoy the taste."
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, no, Vince McMahon, he's one of the greatest business minds really in the entertainment world. I can't think of anybody that would supersede him because he grew something that was so small into, a global organization. I know you're a big wrestling fan.
Yeah, huge. WrestleMania next Sunday. WrestleMania 38, man. It's unbelievable. He literally did his first interview in 15 years on the Pat McAfee show a few weeks ago. And it was just basically like, yeah, there's a lot of people out there that think I'm an asshole. And then he just went like, maybe it's true. I don't know. Like, I do what I love. I don't focus on other people. Like, I don't focus... Like, he focuses on giving his audience the best possible experience that they can possibly have. But he's like, I make big decisions every day. I don't have time to listen to Twitter. I don't have time to listen to people, the naysayers, the haters. Like, you got to block all that out, or else it's just going to eat you alive.
And that's such a good success principle, the definite chief aim. You got to know what you want and then get laser focused on it, and then everything else can just kind of go away. And when you do that, you create something like he's created. But it took him 40 years to get to this point where he's at. It took him 10 years to get to the Hulk Hogan days. And then that's what kind of was the rise of the WWF at the time. And then what's transpired, having their own network on TV, it's insane.
For that, the amount of athletic fortitude and discipline you have to do to be a professional wrestler, let alone a WWE superstar, it's unbelievable what these guys are doing to their bodies, the risks that they're taking. Everybody says well, it's fake. It's not really. These are real life human beings jumping off real ladders onto a wooden canvas where they have the opportunity to break every bone in their body.
Right. It's choreographed. It is not fake. I wouldn't do any of that. There's zero chance I'm jumping off a turnbuckle, doing a backflip, and trying to do a moonsault on somebody. That's just not something I'm going to do.
Just imagine trying to grow that back in the 70s and 80s where, you have to find all of these people. And granted, there's hundreds and thousands of them now, but back in the day, you have to find those people who have the dedication and the heart to do this to themselves and their bodies and come out the other side and get over with 1 million fans. That's not easy at all. You got to talk. You got to wrestle. You got to be able to tell a story with your wrestling. It's a soap opera with wrestling as, the backdrop to it. Yep. And that's a difficult thing for a lot of these guys. Like John Cena perfected it. He grabbed that imaginary brass ring and he ran with it. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, Stone Cold Steve Austin. Today, Roman Reigns is phenomenal. But there are very few people who get to that, upper echelon of the mountain and, just commend an audience with not only their character, but their real life personality mixed in.
And it goes back to exactly what we were talking about with passion, right? And not making money. A lot of these guys have the passion. They make no money in the beginning of their career. Yeah. It's not until they literally crack into the WWE and they start getting, or some of the other organizations, but they're on TV, they're getting some limelight. Before that, they're hardly getting paid.
No, even today, like I said, the Brock Lesnars, the Roman Reigns, the Randy Ortons, the John Cenas, they're the ones getting paid millions. There's still guys who are there 7 days a week doing Monday Night Raw, Friday Night SmackDown, NXT, house shows they do that aren't televised every night, making decent money, but not that type of money. Maybe upwards of 100, 2,000, 300K a year.
Yeah.
For what they're doing with the time that they're putting in, that's exhausting, man.
Absolutely.
And you got to get through all that. That's very difficult.
Oh yeah, because their days are 16 to 18-hour days. I've heard Triple H. He was doing an interview on Ed Milet's podcast, and Ed was talking about his travel schedule. He traveled 360 days, 365-day year. That's insane. He barely saw, or his family had to travel with him, but he was always working, and that's just what it takes. And now he runs the organization.
Yeah, well, he's married into the McMahon family now. Married Stephanie McMahon, the daughter of Vince McMahon. So he's in it, he's stuck now. If you want to back out, he can. Shout out to Triple H, just announced his retirement today. from professional wrestling. Will never step foot inside the squared circle again. Had like a heart injury, had heart surgery this year, and I guess he's not allowed to compete anymore.
Oh, the bummer. Well, he was a great. I mean,
One of the best. The game, man.
Yep. Awesome, man. Well, where can people find you on social media?
You could find me at I am Jack O'Hara, at I am Jack O'Hara on Instagram, Twitter. You can find me on LinkedIn just as Jack O'Hara. And you can follow our YouTube channel at The O Show with Jack O'Hara.
Awesome, man. Well, thanks for coming in today. Hey, guys, if you enjoyed this, make sure to leave a comment for Jack. It was a lot of fun, and we look forward to seeing you next time.